What's happening, guys? Happy Monday and happy Labor Day, and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, I am talking about my top 5 Dynasty hot takes for the 2025 season. As you can tell, if you're watching live on YouTube, no Jerry this week. Jerry is sick. I'm not saying I played through the sickness last week, but, Jerry's under the weather, so Jerry's not here. Maybe we'll make him fill us in on his hot takes next week when he's back. Wanted to do this on Sunday, but gave Jerry a little bit of time to see if he could pull out, and he's still under the weather. So we are going to move on. Don't know how long this one's going to go. Could be an hour, could be 40 minutes. I don't know. It's me by myself talking Dynasty hot takes. But not only do I have my 5 Dynasty hot takes, I actually have a couple of rants for you too. I'm going to get in to one of the rants here in just a hot second, but I want to start off by letting you know quickly that the first Dynasty Trade Contractors is going to drop Thursday on podcast. Wednesday, I'll live stream it. Now, that'll be another show. Trying to work out schedules with Dustin. Have not really had a chance to align. We'll figure it out. But at any rate, we will be reviewing Pastor Paul's, try saying that 4 times fast. We'll be reviewing Pastor Paul's lineup on the Dynasty Contractors. You want to check that out. It is a completely separate YouTube feed. So if you're watching this or listening to this via podcast, go to either the Dynasty Trade Contractors YouTube page, subscribe there, or subscribe for you audio listeners, subscribe to the Dynasty WarZone podcast channel. Normally, I get it. Hey, I'm subscribed on Player Profiler on both. I get your show. But this is going to be a separate show on a separate feed. And if you want to get your roster reviewed, you may want to follow us over there. And then also, this Friday, new show, myself, Johnny Tuma, Evan Ringler, we're going to be doing a live stream Friday afternoons, kind of on that middle of the afternoon, almost commute home time. So you'll want to check that out. That's why you subscribe to everything. You turn the notifications on, and then that way you don't miss anything. So I'm going to get into one of my first of 2 rants. And the first one is probably more passionate. Now, normally Jerry is the cusser of the show. Jerry is more likely to use foul language than I am. But in this case, I'm going to use some foul language. So if you're watching this at home, maybe you got the kiddos around, or maybe you're working and your boss can hear it, or your coworker's a little sensitive, put your AirPods in. Now's the time. Or hit pause, come back to this later, because I'm going to drop a couple of bombs here. So you've been warned. You've been warned early. Not doing a good people bad tweets this show because we have a lot to cover. I thought I was going to have a full show with Jerry, but I was flipping through Twitter the other day, and I don't even remember the person's name. And quite honestly, I do not care that I do not remember the person's name, because it chapped my ass. And it was someone complaining about the Podfather and the amount of fast draft ads and fast draft content, primarily in his show. But I do fast draft, and I went and got the shirt. Before I went live, I was not wearing the shirt. I'm wearing the goddamn shirt. And fast draft is not something that I get paid to promote, right? Fast draft is something that I believe in. And why I took homage to this tweet about the person bad-mouthing all of the fast draft advertisements is that in my head, like, this person doesn't understand what Player Profiler and Matt have put into fast draft. They have put, Billy Muzio, and so many more have put their heart into this thing, and it shows. And it shows. It is beautiful. It is fun to use. Now, my podcast, just like a lot of podcasts, when we're going to an ad. If you listen to this show for any length of time, somewhere between the 4-minute and the 8-minute mark, I'm going to an ad. And 9 out of 10 times, the first ad is fast draft. And you will be hard-pressed to find a son of a bitch that hates a podcast ad more than me. I promise you. My favorite non-fantasy podcast is 3 and Out. And I got to fast forward through the first 6 minutes of that show because it's all ads, live. And I dig it. But I get his content for free. You get this content for free. And for those of you that have played Fast Draft, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The app is fun. Oh, by the way, Fast Draft just raised $6,900 for Fantasy Cares and the Scott Fish Bowl and that charity. Dude, Fast Draft is awesome. So for the person that doesn't understand why we promote Fast Draft, fuck you. And I hope this finds you well. And I hope you understand. Fast Draft's awesome. And even though Matt wouldn't say that or Billy wouldn't say that, I'll say it. You know, I when I say I use something, I use it. And I was in Ohio again, and I knocked out a couple more drafts. And I want to give a shout out to all the people that have used our code because I see the analytics, and it means a ton. I just want to see this thing be successful because it is a good product ran by good people, and it's a great value. Both of the rabbit drafts filled up. All of the drafts, the Flex Force, everything is full. And you know what? You know why things sell out early? Because the shit's good. So if you don't like the advertisements of it, learn where they are in the show. Fast forward around them. Enjoy the rest of the content. But until then, thank you. Fuck you. Bye. But if you have more questions, unlike that other person about Fast Draft, but if you want to know what's going on in the month of September with Fast Draft, check this out.
Pour one out for an incredible best ball season. It was a breakout 2025 for Fast Draft, but now the NFL action has started. That means it's DFS season. That's right. You might think, oh, wow, DFS, I can't win DFS. Oh, but you can on Fast Draft. You just pick any 6 guys, and you put them in a handful of booster spots. There's no salary rubric you have to follow. You're not going up against thousands of killer bots in these tournaments. Oh, no. These are regular people grabbing their 6 favorite plays of the week, and that's all you have to do. And we post the ownership so that you can choose how much chalk you want. There is no drafting. It's called the Quick 6 Super Slam. The Quick 6 Super Slam is the signature DFS contest at Fast Draft. It is changing DFS. We are making DFS great again. So go to fastdraft.app and use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. And let's go start drafting faster.
There you go. My favorite fantasy football app, and that's nothing against Underdog or anyone else. It's just I've been there since this thing was in beta, and I believe it with my heart. Super Slam, it's probably named off that person who complains mom. Let's jump right into my other rant of the weekend. And this one's going to be smaller. This is going to be a much smaller rant than the Fast Draft rant. But we had a big game on Saturday, big college football game this past Saturday. Texas went up to Ohio State, the Horseshoe, big game, and Arch Manning didn't look super good. Okay? Then later that night, the Clemson Tigers played LSU. Cade Klubnik didn't look that good. I heard mixed reviews on Lenora Sellers. And I'm getting familiar with these guys now because I focus 90% of my football bandwidth into the pro game, into the dynasty game, because that's what's important to me. But I like to keep a little finger on the pulse of what's going on in college. So I'm flipping through Twitter, and I see all these people that are just killing these guys. And it's like, dude, Arch Manning, it's his first real start of the season on the road against the defending national champions at 12 noon, which is 11 a.m. on his body clock. It's like, it was not set up for success. I'll give you a little bit with Cade Klubnik as he was at home. But what are you hoping for, guys? Are you excited about Carson Beck because he beat Notre Dame? Is that what we're doing? We're making lists the first week of September. I guess it was technically August. It's now September as I record this show. It's like, guys, slow down. Slow down. Let's give these guys, and I know some guys have had more starts than others, and especially Carson Beck. He's in year 5. He's going down that Jaden Daniels career arc. Maybe he can get a 6th season out of college. Maybe he could be the next Bo Nix. I don't know. But just enjoy football. Because these same lunatics, and I went back and I did some research, and I'm not going to out them here because I didn't write their names down, to be honest, but these are the same people who were crushing Josh Allen. They were crushing Lamar Jackson. They were propping up Anthony Richardson. They were propping up Trey Lance. All right? College QB evaluation is very tough. But you know when it's even tougher? After one game. After one game. If you want to look back and take the season apart in January and, you have that larger sample, God bless. We're all doing the best we can. But to be so definitive and so this is my take on these guys is just asinine. It's like, let's just let them play. We'll evaluate. And like me personally, like I don't pretend to be a college quarterback evaluator. I trust really smart people like Greg Cosell. I was early as a content creator on Bo Nix, and it was largely because of two things. It was because of the number of the Bill Parcells quarterback drafting rules that he met and how much Greg Cosell was signing off on him. It's like, okay, it's okay. So calm down. If you're the lady or gent who's out there ripping these guys apart after one game, and first of all, shout out to those schools, because 5 years ago you didn't get Texas and Ohio State, or you didn't get Clemson and LSU. Why? Because everybody was scared shitless that if they lost that game, they wouldn't make the college playoff. As the college playoff has expanded, it's going to let more teams in. More teams are willing to play these high-profile games. So let's just let it play out and enjoy college football. But that is my secondary rant. I wanted to give the guy who didn't like fast draft the business, and then I wanted to give the Twitter quarterback analyst who can't analyze quarterbacks the business here. Let's get into my 5 hot takes, guys that I'm looking to buy, guys that I'm predicting big seasons for. And but I had some honorable mentions. I do have 5. I do have some honorable mentions that I want to get out there. The first one is Tyron Tracy. I couldn't come up. Now, when I do these, like I'm actively pursuing. I put one of these guys in our Patreon this morning. I was so excited about what I uncovered about his stats from last year and going forward that I literally put it in our Patreon group chat at like 9 a.m. Eastern time this morning, right away. But when I come up with these takes, like I'm actively reacting based off my takes. I'm not just like putting it out there on this podcast or on YouTube and just letting it. I'm out there doing the thing. But I couldn't get deep enough to get Tyron Tracy into the top 5, but I really like him. I think he could be a poor man's version of what Chase Brown's going to be for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he's going to be heavily involved. I think he's going to be involved in the passing game. And I am not worried about slow 3 yards in a cloud of dust Cam Scatterbo. I know people like Scatterbo because he's fun. He's fun. He's an inferior athlete. He missed a majority of camp. That doesn't mean that he can't have a workload. As a matter of fact, I want Scatterbo to have a workload because no running back not named Derrick Henry is really built for an 85% touch share. So, of course, I want Scatterbo to take those meaningless first down, 1st and 10, 3 yards in a cloud of dust reps. Of course I do. I want him to get beat up in between the tackles so that Tyron Tracy can shine. That's what I want. That's what I want. But I think he's going to have a really good season, and I think he's going to be a value in Dynasty for the next couple of years. Nothing against Scatterbo. I just slow, unathletic, and he's more athletic than me. I'm not putting him in like the lowest rung of athletes on the planet, but by NFL standards, not a good athlete, especially by running back standards. But yeah, I'm big. If you can get Tyron Tracy for a second, especially a contender second, I'm in. He'll be the pass catching back, good pass blocker. I like Tyron Tracy quite a bit. Tyler Warren. And what kept me from putting him in my top 5 guys is I think the Colts target distribution is going to be very flat. It's going to be very flat. And I think they could literally have 4 guys. I think I've said this before, maybe a couple weeks ago. I think they could have 4 guys on this team that get 100 targets, which doesn't sound logical at all, but I could really see the passes being that evenly distributed in Indianapolis. Michael Pittman, still just 27 years old, really good wide receiver. I think he's in line for 100. Josh Downs, if he can stay healthy, he's in line for 100 plus. I think Tyler Warren can get 100 plus. The problem is I don't think because of Downs, and I like the emergence of Adonai Mitchell. Speaking of Twitter, I actually saw a rumor, which nothing has come of it, but there was a rumor that the Pittsburgh Steelers were interested in Alec Pierce, which doesn't make sense because Alec Pierce is kind of a poor man's version of what DK Metcalf does. I could see the Steelers being interested in Michael Pittman. I think that would be a good mix to go with a DK Metcalf and his skill set. I think Aaron Rodgers would love working with a Michael Pittman, but as far as it ties back to the Colts offense, I just don't see anyone standing out. And if someone does, obviously that'll become obvious very quickly in the first few games of the season. But man, Tyler Warren's going to be special. And if you're expecting a Brock Bowers rookie season, you're going to be disappointed. I'm just going to tell you now, you're going to be disappointed. I think he's more likely to give you 10 touchdowns than he is to give you 80 receptions, but that's perfectly okay. Tyler Warren, long-term, he is deservedly like player profiler, and I can't do all the things I normally do. I do a little research as I go. When Jerry's given his take, I'm able to sneak over and do a little bit. I can't do that. I think he's on Player Profiler's rankings currently as tight end 4 in Dynasty. I think it goes Bowers, McBride, Laporta, Warren. I don't have a problem with that. Could this guy have 10 touchdowns this season? Absolutely. But I'm big. You can overpay for anybody. But Tyler Warren is someone I am actively trying to get more of. Third guy, Jordan Mason. Man, Aaron Jones is still going to be there. Aaron Jones is still going to be involved. He actually had a really good season last year. And for Aaron Jones, a guy who's had some injury concerns throughout his professional career, he played every game last year. Good for him. And I bet you there's some correlation between Aaron Jones playing all 17 games last year and some of the success of a Sam Darnold. But I think KOC, Kevin O'Connell, and the GM, I think they went out and added a Jordan Mason for a reason. And again, I don't know that he's going to set the receptions numbers on fire. Did a little research because I was going to put him in the top 5, couldn't make it fit. But KOC over the last 3 seasons, that offense has averaged about 80 targets a season to the running back position. If he's healthy, I think the majority of those targets will go to Aaron Jones. But again, if you're looking for a guy, and I was helping one of our patrons with one of his drafts, and it was an old school, no point per reception, just yards and touchdowns. And if you were playing in that kind of league, I would put a big valuation on a guy like Jordan Mason. Again, kind of like I could see Tyler Warren catching 10 touchdown passes. I could see Jordan Mason getting 10 rushing touchdowns this year. And I'm excited by it. And another guy I'm going out trying to give seconds for. Again, I love it when smart people, and the name popped in my head. I'll probably butcher the pronunciation, but when smart people like Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell go out and actively add a guy to that roster, that's a guy I want to be in on too. When knuckleheads like Ryan Grigson went out and got Trent Richardson with the Colts, didn't love that one. But I love this one. I love Jordan Mason. He almost made the list. And then the last guy, you didn't think I would go a full podcast without mentioning Torrey Horton. Torrey Horton was originally, when depth charts were first starting to hit the net, he was listed as the backup or the second string wide receiver on the right-hand side of the formation per Our Lads behind MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Guess who's no longer a Seahawk? Yeah, it's MVS. He's no longer a Seahawk. He is he's doing something else, which opens up a starting spot in this offense for Torrey Horton. And I love Cooper Kupp. I think everybody likes Jackson Smith and Jigba. But man, I've seen some things where people want to slaw with the Lions to be the quote unquote this year's Puka. Do not, and I'm not putting this on Torrey Horton because that would be a hell of a yoke to have to drag for a guy, especially a guy who plays in an offense with a Jackson Smith and Jigba. Not that it's any better for Tasla with, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Laporta, but Cooper Kupp often banged up, and someone's going to be the number 2. And whether you like him or whether you don't, Sam Darnold did a really nice job feeding the second and third options in Minnesota last year. He did a nice job of feeding Jordan Addison on top of keeping Justin Jefferson fed. And he did a good job when Hawkinson came back. He even had Naylor involved. So I believe Horton is going to have a good rookie season, and I'm not going to call him this season's Puka Nacua, but do not be surprised. At least you shouldn't be, because you're listening to the Dynasty Warzone, and I have been a huge fan of this guy's all off season. I love his game. I love how he complements JSN in the offense. I think Cooper Kupp could be a great mentor for a guy like this. 100% locked in. The season starts this week. This is your last chance before, let's be honest, all of our leagues have some casuals. They're dynasty players, but they're still casuals. Before the casuals start seeing Torrey Horton in an NFL offense. So go get that dude and thank me later. All right. I am going to jump into my guys that made my top 5. And I wanted to make these spicy, but I wanted to make them realistic, and I wanted to give you guys some actionable points behind everybody. And I have always prided myself on never being the podcast that says, go out and get Justin Jefferson, or go out and get Joe Burrow, or go out and get Patrick Mahomes. Of course, our job is to find value and where guys are going to excel. Sometimes they're old guys. I've got one rookie on this list. I've got a second-year guy on this list. I've got this year's Baker Mayfield / Sam Darnold on this list. I've got a big bounce back on this list. But I've got an old guy on this list, and that's where I'm going to start the list. I'm going to start the list with, I believe he's the oldest guy on this list, but a guy that I've been banging the drum for 2 seasons. He was last year's tight end 10 in PPR, not tight end premium, but in PPR, it is Hunter Henry. And my Hunter Henry hot take, try saying that 3 times fast, but my Hunter Henry hot take for the season is this guy's going to finish as a top 5 tight end. And that's a bold statement, knowing what Bowers is going to do, making sure that you know what McBride is going to do. I just mentioned my love for Tyler Warren, but Hunter Henry, I've always liked this guy. He's only 30, and I say only 30 for a running back. That's damn near the end of the line, and that's well past the age apex for a wide receiver. But I'm totally cool with a tight end that's 30 years old. I mean, look at Travis Kelce still going, Zach Ertz. A lot of these guys, and Antonio Gates just went in the Hall of Fame. He played well deep into his 30s. This guy, 30 years old. And what I love about him is, check this out. He's coming off of career highs in all of these metrics, okay? Coming off of a career high in targets with 97. Career high in catches with 66. A career high in yards, 674. Of those 66 catches, 40 of them were for first downs. So that was a career high. But you know what he didn't have a career high in? As a matter of fact, he tied a career low. He had a career low in touchdowns, or tied one, with only 2. So then I got digging deeper, and I wanted to do his game splits with Drake May. And once Drake May became the starter, Hunter Henry averaged 6 targets a game with Drake May. And then I looked, of the 11 games that Drake May started, Hunter Henry, so 6 of the 11, May started 11, and in 6 of those 11, Hunter Henry had 8 or more targets. And I know they've added Stephon Diggs, and I know they've added Kyle Williams, but this is the safety blanket. More than half of the time when Drake May started, this guy got 8 targets. Yes, please. And do you know who's a tight end whisperer? Do you know who can help Hunter Henry fix that touchdown problem? It's Josh McDaniels. Oh, why is that? Well, Josh McDaniels coached or called plays for Hunter Henry in 2021. And guess how many touchdowns he had? Oh, that was a career high. 9 touchdowns with Josh McDaniels as the OC in 2021. And guess who's back in New England? So with Drake May, he saw all of these career highs and all of these key categories: targets, catches, yards. And now he's got the guy back calling plays, especially in the red zone for Hunter Henry. Man, all he's got to do is maintain those other numbers and get those touchdowns closer to 9 than they were to 2. And you have got a guy that can be locked in as a top 5 point producer. He'll never again in his career at 30 years old be a top 5 dynasty tight end. But this is the kind of guy that you want. This is the kind of guy that you want on your roster in Dynasty if you've got a Tyler Warren, okay? You're hoping Tyler Warren fires. I'm hoping Tyler Warren fires. Maybe you are still believing in Kyle Pitts and that maybe this is the year. And it could be. It's probably not, but it could be. Hunter Henry's a great, security blanket. If you've got a contender in Dynasty and maybe Travis Kelce is your tight end one and you want some insurance, Hunter Henry's that guy. Maybe you're going to ride Trey McBride to a Dynasty championship this year. 2 big thumbs up. But you know what happens in the NFL? Injuries, buys. Hunter Henry has no street value, no Dynasty cred, but this guy is going to perform. He's going to perform in this offense with Josh McDaniels. I'm stoked. I was already on Hunter Henry, but when I saw the Josh McDaniels was the OC when he had 9 touchdowns, after seeing the Drake May stats, and then you add in that one Josh McDaniels stat, I'm in there like swimwear. I'm on Josh McDaniels. I'm on Hunter Henry. I'm on this entire offense, really. And that's something I'm going to try to do on Friday when I talk with Johnny and Evan, is I want to talk about New England as a buy-on offense, an offense that I want to buy in on quickly. Again, first guy on the list, Hunter Henry. Go get him. He's probably a second-round pick in tight end premiums, and even cheaper than that in one tight end, probably a third, maybe as a throw-in on a separate trade. Love him to death. I think he's going to give you a ton of points this year. Next one. Most of these are positive. This one not so much. This one's not so positive. And this one right here is about my guy Rome Odunze. I've been fading Rome Odunze all off season. Nothing against him. I'll get into some of the reasons why, but my hot take on Rome Odunze will finish outside of the top 24 at the wide receiver position. And I know people are just like flabbergasted. I will bet you most people don't know where he finished last year. I will get into that in a second. Let's talk about some of the good things. Let's talk about a couple of the good things with Rome Odunze. First of all, he had 101 targets as a rookie. It was very solid. Five total rookies had 100 or more targets in their rookie campaign last year. And 3 of them being Ladd McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors. They all finished in the top 12 of the wide receiver position in fantasy last year. So Neighbors, McConkey, and Brian Thomas Jr. had 100+ targets and all finished as a wide receiver 1 in their rookie season. Rome Odunze had 100. He didn't make it. You know who else didn't? Marvin Harrison Jr. Those were the 5. Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Ladd McConkey, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze. What did Marvin Harrison Jr. do with his 100+ targets last year? He ran it into a wide receiver 30 on the season finish. Rome Odunze, what did he do with 101 targets? He rode it to a wide receiver 49. 49. Dude got 100 targets. And the best you could do with 100 targets is wide receiver 49? It's crazy. Xavier Worthy barely made this list. He had 98, and he finished as wide receiver 33. And I know what people are going to say. Well, it's the year 2. It's the Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's the big bounce back sophomore season. I wish I could get there with you. People are going to say it's the Ben Johnson effect. I'm excited about the Josh McDaniels effect for Hunter Henry, and I'm excited for Ben Johnson I'm excited for Johnson. I'll let you figure it out. But I'm excited for Ben Johnson as it relates to the development of Caleb Williams and the quarterback. But he is not a pass-happy OC. In his 3 seasons as the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, mind you, that's a dome team with a pure drop-back passer in Jared Goff. They finished 11th in total pass attempts, 9th in total pass attempts, and last year, 16th in total pass attempts. They've averaged 582 pass attempts on the season with Ben Johnson calling plays. And that was in Detroit. Now, I took that number, and let's just say for easy math. Well, anyway, that's 34 attempts. 582 divided by 17. That's 34 attempts a game. And I'm being more than generous when I say Caleb Williams could complete 2/3 of his passes. So if he completes 2/3 of 34 pass attempts per game, that's 22 and a half catches. It's not a huge number. And again, that's in a dome. And the weather in Chicago in December into January gets bad. The weather in Green Bay, which they play, will be bad. All right? It's not the comfy dome. And I forget how many dome games the Lions had last year. I want to say it was 11, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And you're going to be playing outside. But then who is Rome Odunze competing for targets with? Well, it's Rome. It's DJ Moore, Luther Burden, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name too. Names will be butchered on today's podcast. Alamadea Zacchaeus, Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, and DeAndre Swift out of backfield. That's 7 guys. So I'm going to chop up I'm going to take 7 guys and distribute 23 completions a game amongst those guys. And I just think you're going to have games where different guys pop off. And I believe the other problem that he's going to have is that the first thing Ben Johnson did in the draft, the first thing, like it's night 1 of the NFL draft, we're going to go out and draft Colston Loveland. Probably going to get Colston Loveland involved. In the second round, what did we go out and do? We got Luther Burden, and we saw him talking up Luther Burden. This is not a Rome Odunze talent issue. This is a mathematical equation. I'm not going to say too many mouths to feed because it's a cliche. The Podfather would hit me with a cliche alert from across the country. It's the same thing I said about Indianapolis. It is the exact same thing I said about Indianapolis. I want to be excited for Michael Pittman. I want to be excited for Josh Downs. I want to be excited for Tyler Warren, but I can't. I absolutely cannot. And it's the consistency that I feel. It's great for Caleb Williams and it's great for Daniel Jones. And bet your ass we're going to talk about Daniel Jones here in just a few minutes. But I don't think it's great for Rome Odunze. And I will say Rome Odunze has a better shot of breaking out next year than this year. And it's like, well, why next year? I think DJ Moore could be gone next offseason, especially if they like what they see out of Luther Burden. And I will say this, that if, much like the Colts, because they both got like a 7.5, 8.5 win total prop in Vegas, like they're going to be 8 to, anywhere from 7 to 9 win teams. If the Bears are struggling at the trade deadline, do not be shocked if a team comes calling for DJ Moore. Or I said this about Michael Pittman 2 shows ago, and don't be surprised if DJ Moore doesn't have a new home by like November 1st. And if that's the case, then you flatten that target distribution curve, both in Indianapolis and in Chicago. If that happens, I'll be more bullish on Rome Odunze. Where do I see him finishing the season from a dynasty perspective, or excuse me, from a fantasy perspective? I'd say 30. He's a usable wide receiver 3, but because of the volatility and what I think his season will look like, I'd much rather have him in best ball formats, and I'm going to clench my cheeks and hope for the best and submit my format lineups, just because it's not a consolidated target proposition in Chicago. It's a very broad one, and I think it will be matchup dependent, week dependent. And again, that's nothing about the talent that is Rome Odunze. It's 100% about the situation and this is going to hurt because I've always said bad things about the Bears, but I'm going to say something nice about the Bears in that the nice job the Bears have done with surrounding Caleb Williams with so much pass catching talent. Sometimes it's subtraction by addition. I know that's not the way the saying normally goes, but just a lot of guys there, a lot of talented guys there. And based off where Rome is going in Dynasty, I'd much rather try and cash out and get someone, maybe a rookie wide receiver. Could be a lot of guys, but I just want to make sure it's crystal clear that it's not a Rome issue. It's a target distribution issue. And to a small degree, the weather in Chicago gets very squirrely around Thanksgiving. So that is hot takes 1 and 2. And I'm going to hit you with 3 through 5 right after this.
I know your sad draft season is over, but just because the NFL season starts doesn't mean the drafting stops. Because Fast Draft has the Flex 6 Frenzy. You're drafting 6 guys for the Sunday slate against 9 other competitors. It's fast, it's furious, it's fun. And as with everything on Fast Draft, there are no salaries. Woo! So go to draftfaster.com, get the app, use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Yeah. For the person that didn't like Fast Draft ads, normally that's a Dynasty Deluxe ad, but I thought I'd hit you with a double shot of Fast Draft because they have 2 great promotions for the month of September. Use the promo code WarZone. It'll get you a dollar for dollar match up to $50. Promo code's WarZone, one word, all caps, WarZone. Go get after it. Start playing a new version of DFS. All right, let's get into my next take. Got a couple of quarterback takes for you, and then one rookie take, and I will get you guys out of here. Thank you for your time on this holiday Monday. Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes will finish this season as a top 10 quarterback on the season, and he will resurrect his career a la Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. And if you've listened to this show since May, I've been all aboard the Danny Dimes Express, and I'm nowhere near off of it, guys. And QB 10 is not a stretch. In 2022, he finished as QB 9 on the season. I think that was his first year with Dayball in New York and the Giants. And he was on a QB1 pace his rookie year. He only played the final 13 games. He was on a QB1 pace then. And normally I don't do this when I'm like giving takes, but I have to go to my research here. I have to give you guys, these were the weapons that Daniel Jones in 2019 was on a QB1 pace with. Here you go. A rookie Darius Slayton, 31-year-old Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard that played 10 games, Cody Latimer, Benny Fowler, TJ Jones, Cody Core, Damari Scott, Russell Shepard, and Evan Ingram. Yeah, those are the guys that he, as a rookie, he was on a QB1 pace with, those guys. Okay, let's go to when he actually did finish as a QB1. He finished as QB9 in 2022. You might think to yourself, well, Memphis, his weapons had to have gotten better, right? Well, let's find out. He had 25-year-old Darius Slayton, Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins, Wan'Dale Robinson. Somehow Sterling Shepard was still there, played 3 games. Who knew? Lawrence Cager, David Sills, Marcus Johnson, Kenny Golladay. That's who I hope Tesla does not turn into as the next Kenny Golladay. Kadarius Toney, he played 2 games that season. And then the tight end was Daniel Bellinger. So you're like, wait a second, no Odell Beckham Jr., no Malik Neighbors. And in both of those seasons, he finished as a QB1 and was on pace to be a QB1. Well, let's talk about his weapons now. We've already talked about all of the talent at the skill positions in Indianapolis. Oh, I will say that those 2 seasons, he did have a guy in the backfield named Saquon Barkley. If you don't know, he is really good at football. Really good. But you know who else is not Saquon Barkley level of good at football, but really good at football? Jonathan Taylor. And my love for DJ Giddens goes without saying. But now let's look at the pass catchers for the Colts. You got Alec Pierce, great deep threat, not a dynasty asset. Best ball guy might win you a week here or there, but clearly a fast, talented guy. A.D. Mitchell. If you search Adonai Mitchell or A.D. Mitchell on Instagram X and go back to what that dude was doing in training camp, man, I think that dude's sneaky. And I think long-term, he might be the reason why a guy like Michael Pittman or Alec Pierce could be on the move, is because that guy's really good. I don't know that he's ready to break out yet, but I like him a bunch. Josh Downs. My love for Josh Downs goes without saying. The guy is incredibly talented. And he's had some injury issues. I think he's still injured right now. And then Michael Pittman, in the prime of his career, 27, soon to be 28 years old. Those are his weapons. That's way better than the crumb bums that I just mentioned that he worked with in New York. Oh, and then that rookie that I predicted could have 10 touchdowns this year, Tyler Warren. Yeah, he's got all that. So he's working with a much different set of weapons. And then his head coach, Shane Steichen. And I know we have the Anthony Richardson blinders on. But as a rookie, who he didn't play every game because they had to stab the one guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name. They had to stab him wrong with the painkiller in the ribs. He's currently the backup in, I think, the Jets. I can see his face. I just can't think of his name. but he didn't even play every game. And as a rookie under Shane Steichen, Justin Herbert finished as QB9. Then he went to Philadelphia and wasn't even the play caller in all of 2021. Not even all of 2021, because the head coach was calling the plays, was like, hey, this is not for me. We're struggling. And then Jalen Hurts finished as the QB9 under Shane Steichen in his year of 2021. Then in 2022, Jalen Hurts under Shane Steichen finished as the QB3. It's not arguable. You can go look at Jalen Hurts 2022. It is by far the best season of his career statistically. I know he just won a Super Bowl, but statistically, that was his best season. Dude crushed it. And then this is going to laugh. You're like, Justin Herbert, okay, I've heard of him. He's really good. Jalen Hurts, yep, really. Gardner Minshew. And you're going to laugh, but I understand. But in 2023, Gardner Minshew finished as QB21 and had a career high in passing yards under Shane Steichen. I think Shane Steichen, to a lesser degree, can do what KOC did for Sam Darnold and what really two offensive coordinators, Dave Canales and Liam Cohen, did for Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay, and that's resurrect his career. And what makes me really excited is the work he did with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, as good as he is as a competitor, the tush push, all of those things, he's not a great passer of the football. But you know what Shane Steichen was able to do? Maximize the talent that is now, again, Jalen Hurts and Danny Dimes are not the same athlete. But Danny Dimes is a good athlete, and he's good with his legs. He's got more injury concerns than a Jalen Hurts, but I could really see a big breakout season. So I'm in on Danny Dimes. Jerry always talks about this. This is the kind of guy that I like to go get, especially if you're a contender. The only thing that concerns me is injury, because he has been injured, and he's been injured pretty consistently throughout his career. But I'm stoked for what Danny Dimes could do for this team. And I'm a bit of a Colts homer. You guys know that. But I could see this team challenging for the division. I mean, they finished second last year. And my next guy on this list, and it feels dirty, feels gross, but I'm going Trevor Lawrence as the top 6 QB on the season. I know it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. But again, like Danny Dimes, he's had moments and flashes of brilliance throughout his career. In 2022, he finished as QB7. And then in 2023, he finished as QB12 while missing a game. Out of his 4 seasons, he's got 2 QB1 seasons on his resume. And then last year, he got hurt. He was playing at a borderline QB1 in fantasy standpoint. And people have just given up on this guy. And the 2 things that they've added to this offense, I will mention De'Ami Brown, and they just picked up Tim Patrick, but they added Travis Hunter. They're getting year 2 of Brian Thomas Jr. And the one thing that does not escape me, and it's great that we love talent, but I've always been, I know the Podfather's not, I'm a big proponent of the coaches and the people around you. And I think there's talent on this offense. I'm a little concerned with the offensive line. Can the offensive line hold up? But I'm very excited about Travis Hunter, but I'm equally as excited about Liam Cohen. I even called it in my show notes as I'm looking at him here, the Liam Cohen effect. I mean, last year with Baker Mayfield last year, these were his career highs. He had career highs in passing yards. Baker Mayfield had 4,500 plus passing yards last year. He also set career highs in attempts, completions. Okay, well, you're like, well, if the attempts goes up, of course the completions goes up. He also set a career high in completion percentage. Well, then you may say, well, that was probably a lot of short dink and dunk, passes around the line of scrimmage. No, Baker had a career high while having a career high attempts. He had a career high in yards per attempt. Oh, he also had a career high in air yards per attempt. He also had a career high in his QB rating. And I love Baker. If I had to pick one trait in Baker Mayfield that I would take over that same trait in Trevor Lawrence, it would be mental toughness. It would be that dog factor. I was tough on Baker coming out early. and being a knucklehead. But the one thing I'll say about Baker Mayfield is he's that dude. And I often question that about Trevor Lawrence. But, Trevor Lawrence in a game where they were getting absolutely wrecked by Justin Herbert, who we all love, and the Chargers, came back and won that game. So he's got a little dog in him. And I think he's a better quarterback than the national media and the rest of the world wants you to believe. I'm not asking him to be Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. I just want him to be a little bit of a better version of Jared Goff or Dak or Kirk Cousins in his prime. A guy that's going to be right there around QB 5 to 7 that the rest of the world values as QB 15. That is what I'm looking for. That is how you build contenders in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Getting things cheap at a cheap price that give you premium results. People would rather have premium names and they will just shrug their shoulders. What are you going to do? It's Anthony Richardson. It's Kyle Pitts. It's like, I got to draft them. They're so good. Dude, Trevor Lawrence is the opposite. He's boring. Got beautiful hair. Beautiful hair with Trevor Lawrence. But, he's lost some of that shine. And just a guy that I want to go get. I think he's going to be cheap. I mean, I get you probably have better options in a 1 QB league, but so many of us play superflex, and there's even triflex now, and it's bound to get weirder. So just a guy that I'm always going to be a supporter of. And it's like I talked about Hunter Henry, Josh McDaniels. I talked about Daniel Jones, Shane Steichen. I talked about Trevor Lawrence, and it's Liam Cohen. The people you work with matter. Think about your job. If your job is great, and I hope it is, you probably have a good working relationship with your job. Or if your boss sucks, you probably dislike your job that much. But if your job sucks, there's probably a high correlation to your boss sucks. And part of the reason why you're probably not happy. But I just bet you that if you have a good boss who helps you be good at your job, you probably like your job. And I think Liam Cohen can have that effect on Trevor Lawrence and Jacksonville. And then my last guy, my rookie guy. This is one that I wasn't sold on until I did the research, because I have pivoted over the course of the offseason, and that I had become a big Travion Henderson guy. And man, why wouldn't we be? I think obviously Ashton Genty won the offseason draft season hype award, and justifiably so. I've been more neutral on Genty than a lot of the other content creators, but I'm not anti. I'm more middle of the road. I'm more skeptical. I don't think it's a slam dunk, but we'll see. We'll see. And then Travion Henderson won the preseason. Like once the pads came on in camp, team versus team, conjoined practices, and against the Vikings, and then in game, the dude's special. But man, the more I looked at the numbers and what I think is going to happen in Los Angeles, my final hot take of going into the 2025 season is Omarion Hampton finishes as the rookie RB1. I think he'll probably, if that when that hot take comes in, he'll probably finish the season around like RB5. But man, the research. So here's a wild coaching stat for you. Greg Roman has been an offensive coordinator, play caller for 11 seasons. 11, okay? It's pretty long tenure. His offense has been top 10 in both rush attempts and rushing yards in 10 of those 11 seasons. So only one season has Greg Roman not been in the top 10 of the league in rushing attempts and rushing yards, and that year was last year. Greg Roman did not finish in the top 10 in rushing yards. He did not finish top 10 in rushing attempts. What did they do? What did the LA Chargers do? Well, they went out in the draft and they spent the 22nd overall pick on Omarion Hampton. And I know that there's going to be pushback. Najee's working his way back. That's fine. I feel the same way about Najee as I felt about Cam Scatterbo. Let him take those meaningless touches between the 20 and run headlong into the A gap and get smashed all game. Okay, I'm fine with that. I want Omarion Hampton. The guy's going to be good. And I know the big concern with Hampton in that Greg Roman offense are receptions. But last year, J.K. Dobbins, because, I'm trying to get as many factors that add up together as possible. So I wanted to go Justin Herbert as the QB, Greg Roman as the play caller, and J.K. Dobbins as the primary running back as he started 13 games. He averaged 3 targets a game. And if Hampton plays all 17 and gets just 3 targets a game, that's 50 targets on his rookie season. And can he earn more targets? If he creeps up to 4 a game, that's 65 targets. He gets 65 targets knowing that this is going to be a good offense and they're going to want to pound the ball. Broncos offense is going to be pretty good. How are you going to try to slow him down? You're going to try to run the ball. Kansas City goes without saying, going to be pretty good. How do you slow him down to win the division? Pound the ball. And they said, hey, this is the number one concern on this team, right? What Jim Harbaugh do the draft before that? He went and got the big tackle, right? What was his next big concern? He wants to win on the line of scrimmage. He wants to run the ball. And this is the guy. This is the anointed guy. 2 years ago, when he had a chance to pick Blake Corum won him a national championship, University of Michigan. He didn't want him. He won with him. He won with Blake Corum in Michigan. He said, no, thank you. I'll get it done with the retread J.K. Dobbins and the Gus bus. Gus Edwards, for those that you are not familiar with the Gus bus. And then this year he said, you know what? I'm going to get a veteran presence in Najee Harris, but then I'm going to get this guy right here. And I think the offense is going to be good. The competition is going to be good. And they are going to pound the ball with this guy. And Najee and whoever else in the running back room, they're just the backup singers because it's all about O'Marion, Hampton in this offense. There you go, guys. That is 5. I almost made it an hour. How about that? Almost made it an hour for you guys. And I want to thank you guys for sticking in here with me. Not going to do a long outro. I super apologize to everybody in the YouTube comments. We got our man Jamie, Kevin, Dustin, Sam, everybody. I'm sorry. Normally, Jerry answers a lot of the questions while I transition and do the producing and everything. But without Jerry here to help me, wasn't able to be as active in the chat, but so many of the usual suspects here in the chat. Thank you guys so much. I see my boy Dustin in there. Dustin, hardest working man in the greater Pennsylvania area. He and I are going to try to link up. We've got to do a roster review for Pastor Paul. That will be coming this week. The live show with Johnny Tuma and Evan Ringler, that'll be on Friday. And, you know, there was the rant about Fast Draft. Guys, Fast Draft is fun. There's the reason why shit sells out. And the reason why shit sells out is because shit's good. You know what? I've never seen a bad product sell out and not sell out consistently. So go check out Fast Draft. It's wonderful. Promo code is WarZone, dollar for dollar match up to $50. Mention the Patreon a couple of times. Patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. The conversations, the early alerts, they get this show. If you hate the ads, if you're like that one guy and you hate the ads, cool. Become a patron. I edit them some bitches right out of there for you. You get the show early. You get the show ad free at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Guys, I'm excited for the season. I'm doing more content than ever. I'm super stoked to be working with new people. I'm super stoked to be working with Dustin, Johnny, and Evan. And obviously, I'm never getting rid of Jerry. Love Jerry. And Jerry, hopefully, will be back next week. I don't know what night we are going to go live next week as Jerry's convalescing, but I will pick him up off of his sick bed. By the way, for the guy who didn't like the Fast Draft ads, I forgot to give you this earlier in the show.
You take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up. Sometimes shutting the fuck up is the best thing you can do.
And I'm going to shut the fuck up and get the fuck out of here. But until next time, thank you all so much. Everybody who watched on a Monday afternoon, you guys rock. I'll catch you guys twice, 2 other times this week. And later, y'all.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.